Okay, welcome back, everybody. And as you can see, we have a new platform, a new service, a new show, if you mind, segment, whatever. Uh, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn here on the Edge of Philly Sports, kind of an offshoot of the Talking Philly Sports Matty B show, with yours truly, Matty B, and my main man, Kyle Quinn. As I mentioned on the show Monday, due to the ever existing scheduling issues on Monday nights, we promised you a kind of a new way forward. And this is it. This is going to be a standalone segment between me and Kyle every week. It'll be a pre-recorded show that we'll lay down on Wednesday or Thursday. Then it'll be aired on Saturday afternoon. So all's well that ends well as we able to kind of figure that out and get it worked out. Let me welcome Kyle back to the program. Kyle, welcome back now to your new show. It must feel pretty good in the world, Kyle, that you now have your own featured standalone show here on the Edge of Philly Sports.
It does feel pretty good. I'm feeling pretty cozy. I'm kick my feet up. Got my own little spot now on Saturdays. I'm feeling like a king. Appreciate it, Matty B. Thanks for having me as always.
You deserve it, Kyle. I definitely wanted to make sure that we kept things rolling, as so to speak, here on the program. Kyle, again, it's the Birds Blast. We're no longer breaking the birds down. Now we're blasting the birds with Kyle Quinn, and I guess we can go back. And I did this on Monday, but I'll rehash it today, absolutely, because you weren't there. But on Sunday, the Eagles down there in Landover, Maryland, played themselves a game against the Washington Commanders that was frustrating, bewildering, great, all in one word. And Kyle, before I get into more of the X's and O's of this, what was your overall report of what happened down there on Sunday in Maryland?
So another close game against the Commanders, another great game by Eric Bieniemy, something he must know about this defense or how to attack it. I don't know, but it was another bad day for the defense. The Commanders just exploited all the weaknesses that we ever could have possibly imagined that we secondary. Sam Howell looked like Joe Montana, getting the ball out in under 2 seconds, and that was the formula, and it was working. So, I mean, it was it was a game that could have went exactly like the game that did earlier in the season went against them. Could have been to overtime. I mean, it was a lot closer than I guess the one score. I mean, 2 scores, 1 scores, however you want to divvy up those last couple minutes there with the idiotic scoring by Swift and all that. But it's just another close, tight game that probably shouldn't be as tight as it was, but division game against, like I said, a team that's very familiar with you and how you do things. So just kind of glad that they got out of there with a win at this point.
Yeah, 38-31 was the final. The Eagles were able to kind of pull away there at the end, but for the majority of the game, it was very touch and go. As you mentioned, some of the lopsided numbers, Sam Howell does channel his inner Tom Brady, if you will, when the Eagles 29 for 52, 397 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interception. And honestly, if it hadn't been for a couple Terry McLaurin drop passes, we may be talking a different or singing a different tune here on Wednesday that we are right now. Kyle, we are at a point in the season now, and obviously it's Dallas week, and we're going to get into that here in a second, but we're at a point in the season where we shouldn't, in my opinion, be still talking about games like this. This has been a too common recipe of the Eagles, and I know the win is a win is a win and all that, but we're now entering the gauntlet, the part of the season that everybody kind of was circling back in May when the schedule first came out, that you can't play games like this against the next 6 teams that you're going to play against and expect to win. Going forward a little bit from this point, Kyle, does it concern you, some of the mental lapses that this team goes through at stages of the game every week?
I mean, the one thing that concerns me the most is just the rate at which they're turning the ball over. I mean, they're turning the ball over within the 5-yard line. Did it twice against Washington, and yet they still almost won by multiple scores. They lost the turnover battle against Miami, still won. But I disagree with that. You can't, be happy with wins like this. I mean, the Chiefs just lost to the Broncos. You know what I mean? So it is this point in the season, but teams win or lose games that they shouldn't all the time. So, I mean, yeah, they can't play like this next week against Dallas. They can't play like this after the bye against Kansas City. But you kind of have to take each game for what it is. And they did end up coming out with a win. So, yeah, while Terry McLaurin did drop a few passes and there were some missed opportunities by the Commanders, there were missed opportunities by us as well. I mean, we could have scored 52 points had we not lost the ball twice in the red zone. So, you can always look at those kind of things within a game. But yeah, I'm sure everyone on the team will agree that there's a lot of things that they'll have to clean up before they come back and play Sunday.
You know what doesn't have to be cleaned up, and that is the play of one AJ Brown. He continues to set the world on ear. 125 yards on 130 yards on 8 receptions, 2 touchdowns. He has now set an NFL record, which I couldn't believe this is actually that he was able to do this and that nobody had done it prior. 6 straight games now with 125 yards or more receiving. It's the history of the NFL. This is the Jerry Rice's, Randy Moss's, T.O.'s, all the great wide receivers that have come down the pike in the history of this game. And A.J. Brown has kind of just pushed them all aside and stepped forward and set the record. Is A.J. Brown a legitimate MVP candidate in 2023 in the NFL?
Well, he should be. He's playing like one of the best players in the league. He won't get consideration because it's usually goes to the quarterback on the best team or the best team with the best regular season record. But yeah, I mean, when you talk about that, you mentioned all those guys. Calvin Johnson is the guy whose record they broke. So he's definitely, at least with the season he's having, putting himself up in the status of those guys. I mean, he's on pace to have 2,000 yards. So yeah, I mean, he's having an unbelievable season. And it's funny because Devontae Smith on the other side had 7 catches for 99 yards, which is still something that you think is a good day for a wide receiver, but it's the quietest 99 yards that a guy could ever have, just because A.J. Brown is just, I mean, he's nuts. He's out of control. So, yeah, awesome stuff.
Yeah, and Jalen Hurts, on to his credit, I think I've said this maybe twice so far this season, and I'm going to say it again. I might have had the game of his career, not of his career, sorry, game of the season, 39 for 28, 319 yards, 4 touchdowns. He did have the one fumble there, which is a little bit of a stain on it, but all in all, once again, we're seeing continued progress as Jalen Hurts continues to play valiantly through, I think, an injury that's a lot worse than what he is saying or what the team is saying, and a lot of other people might think that he is dealing with at this point.
Yeah, I don't know about that part, because the weird thing is that they're not listing him on the injury report at all. And I mean, with the way that it's talked about with us and the way that they're dismissing it, they can get in trouble by the league for misreporting stuff like that. So, I don't know. The fact he's not on the injury report tells me that maybe we are making a bigger deal out of it than it really is. But, I mean, to your point, he was doing it all from the pocket on Sunday. I mean, he wasn't really running at all. But Washington is a good defense against the run. So that could be out of necessity or like game plan, or that could be because he's injured. I don't know. But either way, I choose to look at the positive of it, which is that he got it done from the pocket. And, I mean, he put up amazing numbers. I mean, 4 touchdowns. I think it matches career high and over 300 yards. So, yeah, I mean, just a great day as a passer for Jalen Hurts.
And you mentioned the Washington stoutness against the running attack. Let's get into that. The Kenny Gainwell experiment continues to reach new dizzying heights here in Philadelphia. Gainwell adds a fumble in the red zone, or red zone, my ass, fumble down by the goal line to his resume this year. The Eagles went to DeAndre Swift 3 times in the first half. He ended up with 15 carries and 56 yards for the game. But first question is this: what are the Eagles seeing in Kenny Gainwell that everybody else in the world is not?
Well, they're saying that they don't have a better option on the roster, which is, I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. I mean, you got DeAndre Swift, and we talked about this before going into the trade deadline, that I wanted them to add a running back because I think the running back room is weak once you get past DeAndre Swift. And Kenny Gainwell, yet again, shows that he's not really a very good, reliable running back on the roster. So I don't know. To answer your question, I don't know what they see in Kenny Gainwell that we're not, but clearly it seems like I will say one thing: DeAndre Swift's usage has been like on a path that's way, way bigger than it ever really has been in his career. So it could be that they're just trying to spell him a little bit and make sure that he's fresh for later on in the season, which is one thing, but you still got to go out there and get wins. So I don't know. To be completely honest with you, I have no idea how to answer the question of what they see in Kenny Gainwell.
And then on to that point, though, I'm going to kind of bring up a Philliesism here. We just dealt with a Phillies team that decided not to go with a big-time off-season signing in Taijuan Walker at all in the postseason. Now we got this Eagles team not going at all with Rashad Penny I think he's got 1 carry for like 3 yards or 2 for 10, something like that on the season. He doesn't dress, and I get it. If he can't play and if he's not good enough to play, then so be it. But I have a hard time believing that this is the case that he's a better option over Kenny Gainwell. Again, personnel decisions for this team, and I know, Kyle, you're not that much in the know and you don't have much of a say in that. But, you mentioned how he didn't do anything with the running back room at the trade deadline. Oh, heaven's sake there, how he failed to kind of address the running back area. I don't know if that says he couldn't find a team that was willing to kind of play with him or dance with him in this case and didn't maybe wanted something too much in return. But what is the answer in Kyle Quinn's opinion? And if Kyle Quinn was pulling the trigger down there in Philly with the running backs going forward, is Rashad Penny just get a look at this point just to see is something different here? I mean, it's getting kind of ridiculous.
Well, I'll say one thing is that whenever I ask anybody that I know about Rashad Penny, and if he should get a chance to actually go out there and start, they just laugh first. I mean, we did see him get a few touches against, I think it was the Vikings or the week after, and he just looked slow. I mean, he looked like he was running in molasses. I mean, it says to me a lot, the fact that even when DeAndre Swift was injured or banged up, that they wouldn't activate him. I mean, he's a healthy scratch every week. So to answer the Rashad Penny question, I think he's just cooked. I don't think he has anything left, and I think the Eagles know that, and he's kind of just here as a last resort. If somebody does go down and they just need a body back there, that he'll come in. As for the running back market, I mean, I don't know what happened. I mean, I'm sure Howie was doing what he always did and was looking for somebody that he could get for a cheap price, but that was good. I mean, I'm sure he inquired about a lot of different guys. I know that there was something really weird going on with the Raiders and the availability of their players and their transparency, I think, with the ownership and the general manager. And that's what led to a lot of them getting fired. So, who knows if Josh Jacobs was there to be had. I just don't know what the running back market looked like. But, I mean, if I had to pinpoint, I would say they probably just felt comfortable with getting Cam Jurgens back and hoping that the run game would just sort of get better with his presence in the line.
And then let's kind of transition now to the defense because they didn't play all that well last week as well. Nakobe Dean, in my opinion, right now looks a little like on an island out there. He looks like this moment might be a little bit too much for him, especially when Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter are not on the field with him at the same time. He has trouble with coverage. He's got trouble of being in the right position. He's not really doing much, in my opinion, up front as well, and aiding that particular part of the game. To go along with the really just horrible game by Reed Blankenship, who redeemed himself a little bit with that deflection touchdown at the end of the game. Kyle, the defense is going to have to play a lot more stouter going forward. Sean Desai, I don't necessarily think he's the problem here. I think the game plan was maybe a little bit passive. I don't like this coverage or zone stuff and playing 10 yards off the ball. But heading into this, and I know the defense is banged up. I know that's part of the team that's really kind of dealing with some injury issues, but they're going to slowly but surely get some people back. But how do you think the defense is going to fare over the next 6 weeks right now, the way they are playing? It doesn't to me look like it might be that good.
Well, I think they're probably, I mean, the reality is since they're facing 6 good teams, they're going to have their ups and their downs. I mean, they're going to lose some reps. They're going to win some reps. I think ultimately we'll come out of it thinking pretty highly of how the defense played, just because I think the Kevin Byard thing, he played 100% of the snaps. He didn't look great, but that's also because I'm sure he had half a clue what the hell he was doing out there, and he had to be thrust into a tough role. Like I said, 100% of the snaps, which is brutal. So I think he'll end up coming along. So I do like the fact that they addressed the middle of the field and Reed Blankenship get some help, and Slay and Bradbury, who I think are still playing well, but not as well as they were playing last season. So I think they definitely could have used that help back there. I think ultimately they're going to be. I think they're going to be fine. Like Bradley Roby is, if he can ever get on the field. I mean, he's kind of came here, started off. He's on the injury report every week, but he's some help back there too. So I think by the end of this 6-game stretch, we're going to say, I think all things considered, they played pretty well.
And so during multiple times in this game, the Eagles trailed by 9 points at one point, 14-3. They were a weird sequence of events caused them to be trailing 7 points at the half, but they were able to find their way and rally themselves to a victory. Some this and that stuff for this game. The Eagles did commit 3 more penalties in this game for 14 yards, now up to 37 penalties for 292 yards. They forced only 1 turnover. That's up to 10 now in the season. They're averaging about 1.25 turnovers a game. And of course, you cannot force a quarter of a turnover. So we're going to use the rule of 5 and round down on that one. So it's 1 turnover a game. For the first half, Kyle, they scored 17. They scored 10 points for 117. But for the second half, and since I've been keeping track of this, the most they've ever scored in the second half that I can remember, as I said, since I've been tracking, is 28 second half points on Sunday against the Commanders. For 114 on the season. They're averaging 15 points in the first and now 14 in the second. They allowed 2 more sacks for 4 yards. They committed 2 more turnovers, as you mentioned, a stat that's getting way out of control now, up to 13 for the season. It's about 2 a game now, Kyle. We can't have that moving forward. And then the defense got to Sam Howell, a dreadful one time for 9 yards. I want to jump on into that turnovers committed number. You know, Kyle, they didn't turn this football over like this last year. As a matter of fact, they haven't turned the football over like this since around 2020. And it's a concerning stat that's very alarming, Kyle. And moving into this stage of the season, it's got to get addressed. And how can they address it, Kyle? Is it a matter of stop being, is it scheme? Is it fundamentals? What is causing the Philadelphia Eagles to put the ball on the ground so many times?
Well, I mean, it's a combination of a lot of things. I think carelessness sometimes hurts, holding on to the ball a little bit too long or putting it into a spot where maybe you shouldn't. But also there's the element of just the ball bouncing the wrong way or him throwing a 50-50 ball and the 50-50 ball going the other 50 that we've come accustomed to seeing it in the other years. Like I said, those things will kind of balance themselves out. But, I mean, in terms of needing it to get better, I really have nothing to add. I mean, it just does. It's something that they can possibly continue, or against good teams, you're most of the time not going to come out victorious. They most definitely can't lose the turnover battle and win on Sunday against Dallas.
No, they absolutely can't. And for those keeping track at home, which I know you are, Kyle had the Redskins, they had the Eagles winning 31-27. I had the Eagles 34-17, and we both had Jalen Hurts as our MVPs. A couple things here, Kyle. I think we got the MVP right. I think the consensus MVP in this game is Jalen Hurts. You finally, after going with him for, 8 straight weeks, finally got him. And I went on my first week, and I finally got him. But over the fact that I scored, I had the 34. I'm gonna say I got the notch on this one, even though we both got the win. But we're both now 6-2 on the season. So congratulations, Kyle, for finally getting Jalen Hurts after 8 weeks.
Yeah, it's about damn time. And I mean, I think the only other candidate you could really go with there is AJ Brown, but he's kind of just doing that every single week. Jalen Hurts, I mean, he's the reason they won the game.
Yeah, you got to switch things up. All right, Kyle, let's turn the page because it is Dallas week. Not your dad's Dallas week, not your grandpa's Dallas week. It's this new Dallas week that I frankly don't like. It's very blah, vanilla. There's something just not. I get it. It's not the same type of sports. It's not same type of society. All in all, Kyle, what is your opinion on what has become of the vaunted Dallas week in the Delaware Valley?
I mean, I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm going to be at the game on Sunday, and it's going to be loud. I mean, it's not going to be like the Vet. You can't really recreate the 700 level at the Vet. But I mean, in terms of how badly I want to beat the Cowboys, I mean, that's never really changed. And I mean, I think if anything, this one has more juice than it has in a lot of years past, just because both pretty much fully healthy. Dak and Jalen are both healthy. They're both good. But all the starters are playing. I think the last few times it was Dak versus Gardner Minshew, and then it was Jalen Hurts versus Cooper Rush, and then the Cowboys were playing for everything, and the Eagles were playing for nothing, and vice versa. So it's very rare that we're on this kind of collision course. So, I mean, if anything, I think this is probably the most highly anticipated Eagles-Dallas matchup in years.
Yeah, but there's just not enough mudslinging going on for my taste, Kyle. There's not enough, I don't know, bad blood. I need Micah Parsons to do something, or somebody throw something up on the bulletin board, man.
Did you hear Parsons and Dak and Mike McCarthy and Jerry Jones? They've all been poking the bear this week.
Okay, well, maybe I need to listen. See, that's just it. I'm not. I guess it's not that bad because it's not like popping up on my phone and all that. I guess I gotta pay attention more, Kyle. I don't know. It just doesn't seem right to me. It seems weird. It seems different.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, it's you know what? You might be right there. But Kyle, the Cowboys did come off of a week that really actually ended up hurting me on the fantasy side. Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb went off on crazy fantasy football numbers. I think CeeDee Lamb had over 40, and Dak was up there in the high 30s as they just put a beating on the Rams. And I get it. It's the Rams, the team that we kind of struggled with a little bit earlier in the season, but you're not going to be able to not going to sell me on the fact that the Cowboys rolled the Rams and we didn't as a reason why the Eagles won't win this game, but it was very impressive to see, very alarming actually to see. But heading into Sunday at the vet, I said it at the vet, Kyle, at the Link, 4:00 start or 4:30 start, 64 degrees. Far cry from what it's like outside right now as we're dealing with a freeze warning here in the Delaware Valley tonight, but it'll be 64 degrees and partly cloudy on Sunday. The Cowboys are going to go with their white shirts and their silver blue bottoms. The Eagles have not announced their uniform combination, but it probably has to be something dark up top in order to kind of offset that. Kyle, I know you're not a uniform guy, and we go over this every week, but again, this is what I mean by the mystique of the Dallas week. Is it's always been an old school thing that you always put the Dallas Cowboys in their blue jerseys on the road, and I don't know, maybe it's lost, and maybe I'm the only one holding on to that, and maybe it's me and the old crowd, but how do you? I know I've asked you this before, but we'll get your take on it now. Maybe you've changed. You don't really seem to care about that, do you?
Well, I don't, because the Cowboys don't anymore. That thing was when, guys like Michael Irvin, Deion Sanders, and all those guys played, and they thought that they looked real fresh and cute in the all whites, and you made them wear the blue, and that was just to sort of have a little dig at them. That kind of died. I mean, it doesn't really matter to anybody anymore. I don't think the Cowboys give a shit. Sorry about
to me,
wow.
Man. No, it matters to me. I mean, it doesn't matter to anybody. You can't blanket it like that. It matters to me.
I figured out what your problem is with Dallas week. It's just not the old days. It's not that it's less of anything.
Yes.
It's not the 1980s. That's your problem with everything.
1990s. Let's give it the 90s. I'm not that old. Let's give it the 1990s. Yeah. No, I'll never. Again, if I ever find my way onto an NFL sideline as a head coach, I mean, a lot of things had gone wrong, and if I'm standing out there in the first place, but I guarantee you, I will always make the Dallas Cowboys wear their blues. Kyle, think about it. We could be wearing the white and the gray Kelly Greens and put the Dallas Cowboys in the blues. Now, that would work. That would be hot. That would be old school. That would look great.
You're stuck in the 90s again. You're trying to make us wear the Kelly, make them wear the blues. You want to bring Buddy Ryan back too? Play some Buddy ball?
Yeah. With his green felt pants that he used to wear. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Never win anything.
Okay, Kyle. Injury report. Let's get into that. The biggest injury news of the week, obviously, centers around the Eagles and Jalen Carter, who left the game on Sunday with a back injury. The MRI proved to be negative. He was. It's going to be a wait and see type thing going on with him and the Eagles. They were wanting to get him back on the field as soon as possible and kind of see how he stands. He's listed as questionable, Kyle. How significant is that, especially if the Eagles dodged a bullet here with Jalen Carter in that back?
Yeah, I mean, it's huge. He's one of their best players on defense. It's crazy to say because he's a rookie, but I mean, he just has such a huge impact. I mean, as a run stuffer and as a pass rusher, because he takes up two guys, and even though he gets taken up by two guys, he might still get through and cause some havoc back there. So Jalen Carter is a huge, huge piece. And I mean, I hope that he's not too limited by the back. It does seem like he's trending towards playing on Sunday, but having him in this game is just massive.
And on the Dallas Cowboys side of things, Tyron Smith, who's dealing with a neck, their offensive tackle, he's dealing with a neck injury. He was a game time decision last week against the Rams. They went ahead. They didn't play him. Now he's kind of back on that same trajectory this week against the Eagles. He'll probably be a game time decision. A lot of people say that the second most important position on a football team aside from quarterback is left tackle. Obviously, Tyron Smith is a huge force out there. How much of a plus for the Eagles if he is not able to go on Sunday against them?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's huge. And not only is the most important position, but Tyron Smith might be one of the best players on offense on the team in general. So not having him would be really, really big. And Josh Sweat, who's just been having a hell of a season, I believe, who would end up being lined up on Tyron Smith. He could be due for a really big day.
And as you mentioned earlier, Cam Jurgens has been activated off injured reserve. He's eligible to come back. Milton Williams is dealing with an injury. Jack Stoll, Sua Peta as well are dealing with injuries coming out of Sunday's game. The Commanders, Michael Gallup for the Cowboys, dealing with he's dealing with an illness, so more likely to be ready to go. And then, of course, the big blow to the Cowboys, Trayvon Diggs gone for the year with the bad ACL. So injury-wise, the Eagles are trending in the right direction. They dodge a bullet, hopefully, with Jalen Carter. It should be a pretty clean game, but if Tyron Smith is not in, it obviously kind of tilts in the favor of the Eagles.
And most definitely. And I think getting Cam Jurgens back is going to be a little understated if he is back this week. I'm sure that's something we're going to find out about as the week goes on. And by the time this airs, I'm going to sound like an idiot because we'll probably know whether he's trending towards playing or not. But I
Yeah.
do think his impact in the run game will be felt if he's back. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting Jurgens back.
I think I'm confusing Cam Jurgens for Grant Calcaterra. That's what I think I'm doing because, yeah, now I got it straight. You're right. He would actually help the run game because I know the other guy wouldn't. All right, Kyle. On Sunday, as we move into the biggest stretch of the season, I mean, this is the season, the next 6 weeks or the next 6 games. There's probably about 7 weeks span here because we have a bye week in between there. But as we move into this part of the schedule, it is definitely the Eagles at the end of this are going to be either the lockdown Super Bowl contending favorite, or they're going to just be one of the rest of the other teams that are vying for an opportunity to get to the Super Bowl. That's how this is the season, in my opinion. But what do you see happening on Sunday at the link?
I think it's going to be really, really close. I think it's going to be tough. Like I said, I'm going to be there, so I'm not exactly looking forward to my heart being broken and then mended back together 5, 6 separate occasions. So that one's going to be a little tough to bear, but I think it's just going to be a really, really close game. Eagles and Cowboys games are usually tough, man, and Dak usually plays well against us. I'm really hoping they can get him off his rhythm, which is huge for how Dak plays against us because he's a rhythm quarterback. And I do think it's going to probably just my prediction. I think it might end up going to overtime, but I think the Eagles will win a close one.
Okay, and with that being said, Kyle, what are your 3 keys to Eagle victory?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, Trayvon Diggs is out, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Dallas Cowboys have been bad against the pass since he's been down. They've actually been pretty good against the pass since he's been out. They're not very good against the run. So this one is one where I hope they don't go in super pass happy. I think this one's the one where they should try to establish the run. The thing to look out for, though, is going to be Hurts' knee and how effective he is as a rusher, because the last time we were able to effectively beat the Cowboys defense, we were optioning off Micah Parsons and using Jalen Hurts' threat as a runner to do that. So that element is going to be huge, huge in this game. And also just establishing the run with DeAndre Swift. And for another reason is, as I mentioned, to get Dak out of his rhythm, because when Dak's out of his rhythm, he's going to make mistakes. But when Dak's in rhythm, that's when you see him go 24 for 24 in the second half, like he did against us the one year. I think it might have even been last season. Yeah, it was in the December game. So you want to get Dak off rhythm, and then of course you just you want to be able to establish the run and keep the time of possession in our favor. And speaking of getting Dak off a rhythm, you got to the turnover battle has to tip over in our favor, because we are the Cowboys force a lot of turnovers, and they have not turned the ball over as much as they have in years past, and it's the exact opposite for us. So that's one thing that we're really going to need to flip in our favor. Hopefully, being a home game, division game, it'll just be one of those days where it goes in our favor. But we absolutely have to win the turnover battle. And the other thing that we need to do is win the red zone efficiency battle, and that's both on offense and defense. The Cowboys, not a great red zone team this season. We need to make sure that continues. Us, also not a great red zone team this season. We need to make sure that doesn't continue. So if we capitalize on the red zone, make sure they don't, I think the close game will end up tipping in our favor.
And thank you for reminding me I didn't give you the red zone numbers from last week. Eagles were 3 for 5, but you mentioned 2 costly turnovers in that area as well. Now on the season, 17 for 33 for 52% efficiency. You're right, that's got to improve. That's to me, that's not acceptable for a team that's vying for an opportunity to win a Super Bowl. They got to get better down there at the red zone. But no, I feel you. Kyle, my 3 keys to Eagle victory are kind of nested with yours. My number 3 key to Eagles victory is, listen, A.J. Brown is having a great season. But eventually someone's going to figure that out, and they're going to try to find a way to stop him. So that means Devontae Smith, who had himself, you mentioned, a great game that's completely going unnoticed because of what A.J. Brown is doing. And then, of course, the vaunted Julio Jones, who caught his first touchdown as an Eagle last week, too. We got to start getting them more involved, because it's happening. It's going to happen. A.J. Brown is going to start demanding even more attention out there. So spread that ball around, keep the other wide receivers happy and feeding as well, and don't make this offense all about A.J. Brown. My number 2 key to Eagle victory is I disagree with you. I've seen enough of Kenny Gainwell, and until Rashad Penny gets just as much of an opportunity to fail as Kenny Gainwell has, I need to see him, because I can't deal with a running attack that features DeAndre Swift and Boston Scott. We need another option back there. And right now, because of Howie's ineffectiveness to find a running back instead of a 6th-round draft pick from the Atlanta Falcons, that's not going to help us out at all until April. He's all we got. So I think this is an opportunity for Rashad Penny to show maybe, I don't know, sometimes this is where it starts. But I'm done with Kenny Gainwell. Give me some Rashad Penny until proven otherwise. And my number one key to Eagle victory, listen, they got to start forcing the issue with the offense. Dak Prescott, he does seem to have really amp up his games against the Eagles throughout his career. We can't have that. The defense needs to be a little bit more aggressive. We got to start getting to the quarterback and putting him on the ground. I can't live with another Sam Howell week. I can't see quarterbacks carving this team up when they're not really that good to begin with. I'm tired of the Eagle defense making quarterbacks look a lot better. I need some more aggression from my Eagle defense. And there's my 3 keys of Eagle victory.
Yeah, so I mean, definitely don't disagree. Point. Yeah, I mean, the Penny Dream's going to have to die, Matt. I'm sorry, you're just going to.
Of course. No, it has nothing to do with Rashad Penny. You know why you don't. You know why you don't agree with me, and that's okay. We don't have to mention his name anymore if you don't want to.
No. It has nothing to do with that. I'm just telling you that Rashad Penny's got nothing. I mean, this has nothing to do with Kenny Gainwell or the running back room. I think the running back is bad, but Rashad Penny's not the solution, is what I'm telling you.
Well, unfortunately, we're in a position that I need to see that for myself because because we know Kenny Gainwell is bad. And you're right, Rashad Penny might be cooked. But right now, what else are we going to do? I don't even, is the practice squad? What is his designation every week? A healthy scratch? Is that what is that how he's listed every week?
Yes, he's a healthy scratch every week. And the only thing you'll be seeing is what the coaches have been seeing in practice every week. There's a reason for the healthy scratch, man. Just trust me.
Again, I believe you. I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just that there's got to be something more than Kenny Gainwell. I can't believe that the greatest general manager ever to be born on the face of the earth is accepting this and letting us accept this at the same time. So I don't know, Kyle. I need to see more, man. And it's not a dig on Howie, man. I'm a big Howie fan, so I'm not gonna dig on him about that. But I can't believe that he would steer us in the wrong direction to bring in a cooked running back to begin with, and then not try to upgrade that position at the trade deadlines, Kyle. So
it's
maybe
crazy.
There's more.
It's a shame that they're 7-1 and have the best record in the NFL. It's crazy.
What does that trophy look like? What does the 7-1 best record in the NFL trophy look like? Is it like the Lombardi Trophy?
Matt, it looks like the one that he won for us in 2017. You ungrateful bastard.
Let's kind of recap the trade deadline as it came and went yesterday at 4 p.m. on Halloween Day. The Eagles did make a move. They traded Quintarius Street and a 2025 7th-round pick to Atlanta for their 2024 6th-round pick, which makes no sense to me. But they made a move. I know Atlanta's looking to kind of bolster their defense. Good luck with Street there, and then of course adding on to the Kevin Byard trade. So there's where your moves this trade deadline. Not what I think a lot of Eagles fans were expecting, to upgrade safety, which was in need of position, but then did not address linebacker or running back, because we really haven't talked about the linebackers, who, to be honest with you, I think Nick Morrow's having a better year than Kobe Dean is, but he didn't address linebacker or running back. Kyle, what would you grade Howie at the trade deadline? And biasedly, Kyle, or unbiasedly, please. Just give me your assertion of that.
I will give Howie Roseman a C+ on the draft, on the trade deadline. And I'll say this. I know everyone's disappointed about Tuesday, and that's because he didn't make a deal on Tuesday. But had he made the trade for Kevin Byard on Tuesday, then I think everyone would look at the trade deadline and say, oh, Howie went and addressed one of the bigger needs on the team. That would have been viewed as a good trade and a good, everyone would have been happy that he did something at the trade deadline. Street trade, yeah, I know it seems weird, but he got the 6th back that he gave away in the Kevin Byard trade. So there's that. So pretty much gets Kevin Byard for a bag of chips, and he gets to upgrade at that position. And I mean, the trade deadline's not the only opportunity for him to add to the team. He did sign Julio Jones, and he did sign Bradley Roby. So he didn't just sit on his hands. But if you want to just ask purely about the trade deadline, I'm not going to go overly crazy about it. I really haven't seen too much of Kevin Byard yet, so I'll give him a C+.
Okay, and then about the running back situation, and I'm sure he was working the phones, and I'm sure the conversation about Derrick Henry came up, and I'm sure about the conversation of a couple of other running backs. You mentioned the running back out of with the Raiders came up, and I'm sure a first-round pick was associated, or multiple first-round picks were associated with said running backs, and the long And the long of it all, I would be roasting him alive for giving up multiple first-round picks for Derrick Henry as well. So I guess you're damned if you do, damned if you don't with me, Howie. But to not bring in any other options, or maybe even at linebacker, Kyle, it's a little concerning. I'm not asking for the Derrick Henry if that's the asking price was too much, but I would like to have seen a little bit more from there. He did address the safety, and he did recomp the 6th-round pick that probably won't even use anyway. But again, there's got to be something there why we didn't address running back or linebacker. Kyle, do you agree or disagree?
I mean, yeah, like, look, trust me. We talked about this last week. I wanted them to go maybe get a running back, maybe an O-line depth piece, linebacker, safety. Hey, can't address everything. I mean, the reality of it is that they're a really, really, really good football team. 7-1 record with one of the best rosters in the NFL. So, while I am disappointed they address exactly what I wanted them to address, I'm not going to be screaming about it. I think they're still going to be able to win football games and pretty easily in some cases. So, I'm not overly upset about it. While slightly disappointed, that's why I gave them a C+ at the deadline.
Okay. Moving on now to the score and prediction, Kyle. What do you see? What is your score and prediction and your MVP for Sunday's game against the Cowboys?
All right. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a close game. And unfortunately, because I'm down there, I'm doing this to myself. But I'm just going to call it. I think this one's going to overtime. I think the Eagles win this one by making a stop. Hassan Reddick's going to get a sack in overtime back to force them to punt the ball back to us. We're going to go down. Jake Elliott's going to kick a field goal. And that's going to be on top of another sack and a forced fumble that he has on Pollard, Mr. Hassan Reddick, earlier in the game, which is going to earn him my MVP in Sunday's 33-30 win over the Cowboys.
So 33-30 overtime. Hassan Reddick with the I'm talking stuff out of Eagles legend type game, doing some of those plays, and a overtime victory against the Cowboys, which would really kind of, if they do win, it puts a stranglehold on the NFC. So the Cowboys are pretty much done there if they lose this game on Sunday. That would be great. I don't know if I'm prepared for a game like that based on what I've seen so far this season. But I think the Eagles will win as well. And purely, simply on the fact that I will never, ever pick the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Eagles ever. It doesn't matter what state of team the Eagles are in or the state of team the Cowboys are in. I will never, ever pick Dallas Cowboys to win. I say Eagles win 31-28, and I like Devontae Smith as my MVP. I think he gets about 10 receptions, about 10 and 3 touchdowns. I think he kind of goes off, and he feasts on the fact that the Cowboys pay all their attention to A.J. Brown. So that's what I'm going with.
I like it, Matt. This is one thing I respect about you, buddy, is that you'll never pick the Dallas Cowboys to beat the Eagles. Keep the traditional.
Ever. I appreciate that. All right, question of the week time. Kyle Quinn. I don't really. This took some time and some doing to kind of to look at, but I've heard it mentioned throughout the week, and we talked about it briefly here on the program, but I want to get Kyle Quinn's take on it over the next 6 games, and I keep stressing this because I don't know if to me this really is the season for me. This stretch of games here, we haven't had a stretch like this I can't remember a stretch this important ever in recent memory. But you got the Cowboys, you got a bye week at the Chiefs, the Bills, 49ers. At Dallas and at Seattle. That KC game is Monday night game in Kansas City, where Andy Reid has never lost against the Eagles. I mean, he's undefeated against the Eagles, no matter where they play or what venue it is. Kyle, if the Birds come out of this, first of all, what is your acceptable record through these next 6 games in terms of, like, what do you think, 4-2, 5-1, whatever, and how much stake do you put in? Or stock do you put into these next 6 games, really kind of shaping what the rest of the season is going to be like heading into the postseason?
Oh, well, I mean, the next 6 games are everything. I'll tell you this. I think if I really the record through the 6 games is going to come down to who it is they beat and who it is they lose. Because if they go 3-3, yet the losses are to the Chiefs, Bills, and and then the wins are against the Cowboys, Niners, and the Seahawks, that puts them in great position for the NFC, provided that some of these other teams don't go on crazy runs and just don't ever lose, So it's going to come down to that. I think definitely the games against the NFC are a little more important. It is good, though, that they'll have the Bills game at home and the Niners game at home and this Cowboys game at home, at least for, in terms of this upcoming stretch. So that's going to help a little bit. But I mean, yeah, I'm with you. I don't remember the team ever having such a stretch in their history, at least in my lifetime. But I think I'll say the most acceptable record to me is probably 4-2, because if they're 3-3, that means they have 4 losses on the season. And things are going to get a little bit tight up there, if not really tight, for that number 1 seed.
Well, and going through this stretch of 6 games, I think I have the Eagles at 2-4. Honestly, I think I do. I think the only 2 wins I have are them against the Cowboys. So I hope I'm wrong. And if you're right, if they're 2-4, then we've just made things a lot more interesting in the NFC. And obviously, we don't want that. But all right, Kyle, that's the number I've been hearing, 4-2. I've heard somebody say 6-0. I'm like, wait, I don't think that's going to happen, but it might. But
You imagine?
yeah, 6-0 is lofty. That's a lofty expectation.
I'll
tell you what,
this team and Howie Rowe, they go 6-0, Matt.
okay, that's fair. If they were able to go 6-0 through these next 6 games, matter of fact, Kyle, whatever you want me to do to proclaim my love for Howie Roseman or whatever, I will do. You name the place and time, and I will do it if they go 6-0. Okay,
that's a deal. That's a deal. I like it.
I'm a man of my word when it comes to that, because if they go 6-0, they would make a believer out of me. Yes, they will. Howie would make a believer out of me.
Be 13-1. That'd be insane, dude.
By the way, Kyle, to kind of rehash what we talked about last week, Bill Polian was the name of the general manager that took.
Yeah, and he's like,
and he also took the Colts to the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah,
as well.
He's widely regarded as one of the best general managers in NFL history, man.
Yeah, and he is in the Hall of Fame. But the bottom line is still, I think maybe taking the Colts to the Super Bowl and actually winning one might have helped his case there. I don't think and we'll never know because it didn't happen that way. But I'm fairly confident that a GM that takes a team to 4 straight Super Bowls and loses all 4 of them, one, he's probably not the greatest memory in that town. And I don't think to me it's not Hall of Fame worthy. And I think
I'm just letting you know right now that even if he did not go to the Colts and do that, he would still be in the Hall of Fame for what he did with the Bills. Guaranteed.
I disagree. And
You're
unfortunately, we'll never know.
You're absolutely
wrong.
We
will with Howie. We might know with Howie. But all right.
Howie has won a Super Bowl. Get that in your head.
Yes, he has.
That was a Super Bowl champion.
So if Howie can leave, if or when Howie gets fired from the Eagles and he goes to another team and has this type of stretch run and has this type of success, then maybe we'll talk. But right now, he's won 1 Super Bowl and he's lost.
He's going to go to the Hall of Fame. You are going to weep that day.
Yeah, you're damn right I am. Because I'll be amazed. I'll be utterly amazed.
Yep.
All right, Kyle. Listen again. This is now, of course, the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. It is its own separate standalone program here on the Edge of Philly Sports. It'll be recorded on Thursdays. I know we're doing it on Wednesday this week. We're probably going to do it on Thursdays. Later in the week is better anyway when we're talking game day. And this will air on Saturdays at around 1 p.m. So hopefully you guys are tuned in. If you're going to send messages along or try to chat with us, unfortunately, we're not going to see them because we're not actually live when you're watching this, but please keep them on and I'll address them in the following week's show. So don't stop sending messages. I will look at them for the next week's show. But Kyle, I appreciate you coming on. Have a good rest of your week. Where can the good people find you out there before I let you go?
Yep. So every Monday through Friday, 10 to 2, 94 WIP, and of course on Twitter at Kyle_Quinn WIP.
All right, Kyle, go Birds, and we'll talk next week.
Thanks, buddy. Go Birds. Screw Dallas.
Yeah, absolutely. Screw Dallas you're absolutely 100%. Kyle Quinn joining me here on the Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. I came up with that name all by myself, folks. So before we go, let's take a look at the schedule here on the Edge of Philly Sports. Again, this show will be airing on Saturday afternoon. So if it's Saturday where you're watching this, they get processed. Sixers post game and some clear the ice action happening and everything else that's going on the EOP this week. And don't forget, this show, along with every other show on the Edge of Philly Sports, is sponsored and brought to you by Dave Cherry for Workman's Comp, Motor Vehicle Accidents, Personal Injury, Criminal Law. Dave Cherry, 610-565-0300. And if you're looking for tickets, those great tickets for Sunday's game against the Eagles, Cowboys, or any other Eagles, or Flyers, Phillies, Union, any other sports event, concert, or theater event, look no further than Sherry's Ticket Town at www.sherrystickets.com. Family owned and operated since 1946. Save an additional 10% when you enter the promo code EOP10. And if you're not going to be at the link on Sunday, then head on over down to Dolan's at 24 East Sellers Ave in Ridley Park for Quizzo, music, great times, memorabilia giveaways, Dolan's Bar. You never know who might walk through the front door, and tell PJ and everybody that EOP sent you. And travel like the pros. Obviously, I'm sure they're doing a tailgate. I haven't seen anything, but I'm sure they're doing a tailgate for this game. And they'll be heading back on the road here soon. The next trip will be Kansas City. So make sure you're looking out for that. Head over to PhillySportsTrips.com. Travel like the pros and go ahead on the road and support your Philadelphia sports teams as the best you can possibly do, folks. It's great to be with you. I'm excited about this new adventure with Kyle for the rest of the season going forward. We will hopefully be doing this up and through the middle part of February. I like to be doing this, honestly, when pitchers and catchers report down there in Clearwater here in the middle of February. So hopefully we do that. Until we talk again, we'll see you next week. Have a good weekend. Go Birds, and that's the news, and I'm out of here.